Yo, yo, what's up, fam? I am, looks like about 68 hours into a 72-hour fast. This is by far the absolute longest fast I've ever done. Before this was, I want to say 38 hours. I set out to do a 2-day one time and got tripped up a little bit. And so I've been building towards this. I do a ton of 24-hour ones. Started with intermittent fasting several years ago. Really see a lot of benefits from it, both mentally, physically, spiritually. Just feel pretty dialed in. Not gonna lie though, there are many challenges to it, especially with two young kids. I mean, I tried yesterday to limit steps just because the energy kind of goes up and down. And to be honest, I think I still ended at 17,000 steps. That's trying to limit. I have a really active lifestyle, and that's just a big part of who I am. And so, when you're doing something like this, it's best to conserve energy. But the mental clarity has been just like through the roof certain times. And then if I'm real honest, I've heard everybody talk about that best part. There's been other times where I'm like, holy cow, I feel so dumb. I almost feel like back in high school days where I'm stoned or something, right? I just can't put anything together. But I feel like, man, peak performance when I'm really locked in, mostly mornings when I've woke up here. Even this morning when I was, 62 hours into the fast or 60 or whatever it was. Man, just after I chug the coffee, I feel like I can just eat nails and just really getting after it. But skip the gym today. I did work out the first 2 days, but just not well. Obviously, the second day, you don't have any food. It's hard to burn. I got back from a family vacation here about 2 weeks ago, and I really dialed in my diet. And this was the plan coming into 2024. I set a goal to be 42 years old and run a 5-minute mile. And so I got a long way to go. I'm 649 mile, but that was when I was walking around 180. So I weighed myself this morning. I'm down to 171. That was kind of the goal. I've lost 9 pounds now on the fast. I'll break it here in looks like about 4 hours coming up. When I break it, it'll just be kind of an egg omelet, maybe some fruit and things like that. And we'll go from there. But yeah, I recommend if you've never tried fasting, just skip one meal. And people say, well, what's the big benefit behind it? You can read all about it. Huberman talks about it. A lot of these champions talk about they do these quite often. I plan to do 2 to 3 of these 72 hours a year. Everything I've read is just it resets your body. It's so good for you on a cellular level to every single kind of level. I'm not super technical guy. I just read the guys that are that I think are the best in their space. But more for me is just a mindset and a mental toughness that, hey, if I feel like snacking or I'm stressed or I'm just hungry, I mean, I'll be honest, my stomach is growling. Right now, as I speak, my stomach is, I'm feeling it growl. And if I have the mental fortitude to say, no, like I'm the boss, like I exert my will. And if I tell myself I'm not eating, then I'm not eating. And I feel like, man, if you have the discipline and the willpower to do that for a few days, even when you're hungry, a lot of the life's other little challenges just aren't that hard. Then the alarm goes off at 5:30 to hit the gym. And it's like, I mean, that's so easy, right? You've done these harder things. And so it's very easy to do some of the other things in life that might feel hard, have you not do if you're not doing these hard things. So that's my biggest thing. Another thing that I'm just going to celebrate with the YouTube community today, man. I'm really fired up. This thing right here, man. It's a little USA tank top. I'm just going to be real honest. In the last 7 years, I think this is the absolute first thing that I bought for myself. That I splurged. I really set a goal about 7-8 years ago and sat down with my wife. I was working at a bank at the time and just told her, I can't do this until I'm 62 years old. I can't leave at 7 o'clock in the morning and get home at 6:45 at night and sit in traffic and do things I'm not super passionate about and feel like I'm just watching the clock take my life away. I can't do it. And so, we kind of came up with this plan and we said, we had this motto, we're going to live like nobody else will for a while so we can live like nobody else can for a while. And so, man, I got insane about just, my wife helped me so much with this. She's a saver naturally. I'm more of a spender. And so, we really got crazy about paying off all of our debt, getting a set amount aside in savings so that if anything went wrong, we always had it, investing and paying ourselves first and creating income streams. And, I'm real open about it. Every time I log on to my Chase app, it tells me I'm approved for an $80,000 automobile. I just chuckle. I drive a car that's worth about $6,000. It's it's like an 11-year-old soccer dad SUV. I don't want a car payment. I want to pay myself and invest. My wife and I call them freedom dollars. And so, this kind of means a lot to me, man, because it's literally the first time in about 7 years I've just kind of wanted something and not thought, not yet, man. Just keep investing, get to the spot where you get enough freedom dollars where you don't have to go back to that life. And I finally feel like at 41 years old, when we started this mission, we were maybe 34, 35. And, there's I don't want to say no point, there's no chance, but a very, we'll say 99%, given some, black swan event, that we're kind of broken free from that. And we're moving in a great direction always. And now it's just the mindset switch where I even had to think about this for like 4 or 5 times. It's $20. And I'm like, I love the USA tank. I'm going to run in this. I'm going to lift in this. I love this thing. But it just meant a lot to me to kind of just reflect on the drive home from the running store and think, man, I haven't bought myself anything non-business related in years. And there are many times where like, oh, I'd like to have that. I'd really like to have that. Or man, that might even make my life easier. I'd really like that. And you know what? I always say this, and I just journaled this a couple minutes ago before I hopped on. I said, life just comes down to this. And this is it. Can you have with precision clarity on the exact kind of life that you want to create? And I did this, and I've shared a video on the channel, and check it out. If you haven't, it's called Perfect Day. But I sat down with my wife about 7 years ago and said, if money wasn't an object, what would we do all day? What time would I wake up? What would I work on? How would we spend our time? Who would we be helping? What would life look like if I didn't have to drive to a bank and come home 12 hours later? What would it look like? And I literally got on paper that, man, I'd still want to wake up at 5 a.m. and work out and read my Bible and better my mind and my body before my family woke up. I do that pretty much every day. I would want to hit the gym then and get my workout in and then be home about the time my kids are getting up so that I can help and be a part of the morning routine. I want to drop my kids at school, which I get to do pretty much every day. Then me and my wife have talked about we'd love to create a life where before the busyness of our day starts, her and I can just take a walk together. And this is something that we do a lot of mornings. And now that I even think about it, we need to just make this a non-negotiable and do it every morning. But my wife runs her own thing. I run my own thing too. And sometimes we get busy, but that's the life we wanted, is to be able to walk. And we talked about, we want to be able to go on multiple date nights a week where we have sitters or grandparents or whatever that might be, watch the kids. So her and I can continue to foster and grow our relationship. And when we wrote down this perfect day and got this very clear vision of what our life looked like, we both noticed we never mentioned the fanciness of cars that we drove. We never mentioned the fanciness of watches. I used to have a nice watch. I sold it. We didn't mention like, man, when we open the door, we want to see this fancy chandelier or fancy dining room table. And none of that really mattered to us as much as being sovereign and free over our time. And so, there's just something to, if they can tell you what to wear, when to be there, when you can go home, I just never felt like a free person. And I'm not saying that, man, if you work a 9 to 5, I'm so grateful for working the 9 to 5 back then. I'm grateful that it gave me a steady paycheck. I'm grateful that it allowed me to build on the side. I'm grateful that there was so many great things about that allowed me to get to the point where I was in my life. But I would just challenge anybody watching this. What's up, Hayden? What's up, Bill? Love you guys, man. See you in the chat. I would just challenge anybody watching this, man. If you're at a spot in life where you're like, man, life's kind of running me. And that's how I felt for a really long time. I'd say 34, 35 years. And if I would have really asked myself why I'm doing a lot of the things I'm doing every day, I would have said, well, I want other people to think I'm happy. I didn't have any clarity on what my best life looked like. And so get out a pen and paper, start writing this stuff down. And it doesn't have to make sense to other people. I've got a social media following now of several 100,000 people. Not a day goes by I don't get called a fool or an idiot or, you don't really have money or you'd be driving this kind of car or that. And it doesn't need to make sense to anybody else but you. And so again, every day when I would drive off from my family and my daughter might have an event that I had to miss at school, or I couldn't be there when my boys got home or whatever that was, I just realized that all the stuff and all the things and all the purchases weren't worth it to me. What I really, really wanted in that clear vision was time. I wanted freedom over my time. And so what we did is we made a budget, and we found out it cost about this much money to run our family every month. So, $4,200, $4,400, somewhere around there. And then we basically looked at it in this way. Hey, every $4,400 that we get invested buys me 1 month of my life back. That's a month I don't have to trade my time for dollars anymore. And this just became a fun game, and getting out of debt became a fun game where my wife and I just started hustling and getting after it. We canceled TV, ain't watched TV in 5-6 years, right? We made a lot of sacrifices, and that's point 2. So number 1, you have a very clear vision of where you want your life to go. Number 2 is you got to decide to say no to all the distractions. And believe me, there's going to be a bunch that come in. Now, when you're looking at distractions and investing, I always tell people, man, one of the big reasons that my wife and I are doing well is we've said no to about 100 altcoins that can't miss. These people come in and, or I got this hot stock and dude, we're just very boring. Every month, the money just goes into, ETFs and very basic things. And we paid off debt and we keep our nut low and we don't buy a bunch of stuff. Again, pre-approved for an $80,000 car, drive a $6,000 car. I don't own a watch. I own a $40 Fitbit that I could write off on my business expense. I don't. This is, again, first thing that I bought for myself in about 7 years is this USA tank top that I love. So, you have to decide then to say no to a lot of these distractions. And I hate to say this, but a lot of the distractions are people. And I didn't really realize that going into my self-improvement journey, that you're going to lose some friends, you're going to lose some family. And the day you decide to be different and not average and not fit in with everybody else and stay in the mold and just do the safe thing, you're going to get called an idiot. You're going to get, oh, he's delusional. He's up in the clouds. It must be nice. Oh, he thinks he's too good. You're going to hear some of these things. I've heard them all. And I always just thought that was something like successful people said, man. I'd see some of these athletes interview, they'd say things like that. And I'm always like, is that just like a script that they say? But I'm telling you, you have to learn to say no and prioritize yourself and prioritize your dreams. Nobody's going to come to do it for you. Nobody. Nobody's going to make you get out of bed and hit the gym. Nobody's going to make you eat the healthy food. Nobody's going to make you pay yourself first and invest the money. Nobody's going to make you. You have to do that. And it can all start with that one committed decision, right? Is this the NPC? Yeah, bro. This is all off the top of my head. I'm just fired up. Again, anybody joining, I'm about 68 and a half hours into a 72-hour fast. This is my longest one. And so, again, when you're talking about getting the life that you want to create, it's having that clear vision, saying no to everything else, and then being insanely ruthlessly consistent. Because I just promise you're not going to feel like it. I'm 41 years old, and I say all the time, man, the reason I'm in shape as a 41-year-old dad, I get up about 140, 50 times a year when I don't feel like getting up. And I go have pretty mediocre workouts 140, 150 times a year. I'm not really fired up to go. I'm not setting PRs. I'm just there. The reason that we kind of got to some financial goals we wanted is because, man, we just kept paying ourselves. Some months we got $942.78 we can throw in here. Cool. Can we beat it next month? It's just this mindset of getting better and having that clarity of where you want to go. And then the fourth step of that, man, is when you get to some of these places you want to go, people call you lucky, man. That's all part of it, right? So I would just challenge anybody out there that's watching this to really just take some time. We're so busy in all the programming. For me, man, if you would have asked me when I was 30 years old, what's success? What's happiness? I would have said driving a Ferrari, living in a mansion, having a secondary home. I would have said all these, wearing a $20,000 watch. I would have said that was success because that's what was programmed into my mind, that's what success looks like. So I've seen 100,000 commercials telling me this is what success looks like. I think it's completely different for me, and maybe for you it might look different, but what is your version of success? For me, it's having freedom over every minute of how I choose my day. It's having freedom to, I just don't like working with certain people, so I don't. I love every single client I work with. I love every single person I collaborate with. I love every single person on my podcast. I don't need to chase things or do things I don't want. I get to feel like I'm helping people, impact people. And I just tell you, there's a lot of freedom and a gift in that. And so you got to unlearn some of these things that I believe society programs, especially men, to think, well, this is happiness. This is success. And I'll leave you with this because my kids get home here in a few minutes. I'm going to hop off. But, if I had looked at myself from 10 years ago and said, well, what's the best piece of advice you could give? Or maybe I'm stuck. Because for anybody who's watching this today and they go, this guy's kind of fired up, he must be highly motivated, this or that. I'll be really honest. I went through a pretty devastating thing in my latest 20s, 27, 28, where I lost most of my money. The girl I was with cheated on me, and I just, really was in a rough state. And I remember thinking so much then, I don't want to get out of bed. I almost hope I don't wake up, man. I was so depressed. I was drinking 6 days a week, popping Adderall like Skittles, going to partying, trying to make myself happy any way I could. And, I felt stuck. And I remember thinking my best years are behind me. And it was just a challenge from one of my friends. His name was Colby, man, who just said, meet me at the gym tomorrow, bro. Let's just start there. Let's just come to the gym and work out and you'll feel a little better. Make a little better food choices. And it was another friend, Eddie Lowen, that just challenged me to think about the kind of life I wanted and the kind of faith and the kind of body and all these things, right? And so you're never stuck. And I don't care where you find yourself today, man. I'm in this job I just freaking hate. I hate driving here. Don't say that anymore. I never let myself complain about my job the last few years. I'm grateful for it. Hey, man, it provides a steady paycheck. It provides insurance for my family when we needed it. Provided me an avenue to get out, a security net. So change your mindset around, man. Everything is a blessing. Life is always working for you. And I'm telling you, just no one can stop you but you. Every limit is mental. And if nothing else has taught me outside of this fast, but that every freaking limit we have is mental. Like I always say, man, I was running wind sprints with a client. This was like a year or two ago. And I told him we couldn't stop until he hit a certain speed. And he said, I can't. And I made him do 3, 4 more. Come on, you got more. Let's go. I can't, man. I'm done. I'm physically done. And I said, bro, I want you to pause a minute. I want you to take a couple deep breaths. What if I put a gun to your head? What if I put a gun to your kid's head and said, if you don't make this time, you're dead? Everybody you look, could you find energy then? Could you create some energy and do better? And guess what he did? Next freaking sprint, man, blew it out of the water. And so, you have extra energy in you. Eric Thomas talks about this a lot, man. You find energy you didn't think you had. You find a way, man. It's like that. I just love it. Find a way to win. Find a way to win. And what does winning look like for you? So get that clarity, decide to pay the cost, create any life you want, guys. I've been rambling here for 16 minutes, man. I'm going to get off, go hang with my boys and hang out. You guys go have the greatest day. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Maybe I'll do like a live thing where I hop on every now and then and just rant, man. Much love. Go be the best version of yourselves today. Let's get it.